Welcome back, everybody, to the Rat Hole. As always, I'm Jeff, and I'm always cheesed to meet you. Today we have another great episode for you guys because today we have none other than Barney on, who created Mouse Cafe, amongst other things. Created Four Cheese, Mouse Cafe, the Cheesy Club, as well as the NFC Candy Machine for our NFTs. Barney, how's it going, man?
Excellent, guys. I'm thrilled to be here with my rat bros and talk about some of these awesome products we've made. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
Absolutely. I mean, we had to have you on for a little you and Mister One for some dev diaries because Mouse Cafe. I mean, I've loved every second of it for the past week. So we kind of wanted to know how you guys came about on the idea and built it really.
Yeah, I think maybe the best place to start, it actually originated on Four Cheese. And I think for all the people listening, if you haven't been to Four Cheese, maybe really the story starts there. So, a while back, 4chan went down. A lot of us obviously have spent some time there. And we decided to rebuild it. And inside the course of like about 7 days, we created an image board, and it's been somewhat successful. We've had a few thousand people come, and there are a few hundred consistent posters. But back to Mouse Cafe, somebody went on 4Cheese and they said, "Hey, wouldn't it be really cool if we recreated Club Penguin, but we did it with mice and cheese?" And that thread went on for a little while, and I said, "Oh, let's try and build it." And so that's what we did. Um, it turned into this kind of a much bigger thing than we were expecting. It took a lot of effort and a lot of work to bring Mouse Cafe to life. But yeah, I don't even know where to start. I mean, we have I can talk about the open source nature of the project, where a bunch of the underlying code is actually from an open source project. I can talk about all the artwork that went in, a ton of human labor, and time was spent actually hand drawing all of the backgrounds that we have. So that's a huge accomplishment. I can talk about the music. I can talk about the code. I don't know where you guys want to jump in,
I think I
but
think the most interesting thing to start with is that we talk a lot of shit in all of the Telegram channels or 4Cheese, everything, and we have a lot of ideas. But this one just it picked up steam. Like when you saw that idea, where did you start? You were like, huh, like
I have a hard time saying no to things. I believe that anything is possible, and I think this embodies the cheese spirit really well. And so when I saw this post on 4Cheese, and I saw how excited people were getting, the first thing in my mind was, well, how do we bring this to life? And I start doing all this research. I'm going online. I'm learning about Club Penguin private servers. Apparently, this is really popular. There are a couple out there that have, thousands of users. And what I found was, the more I looked into this, it felt like it was something that we could actually do. And I ended up getting this Club Penguin private server up on my local machine. If the developer is listening, WizGwin, I think is his name. He's out there somewhere. He has this great open source repo. Anyway, I get it up and running, and I'm looking at how this thing is put together. I'm kind of looking at all the sprites that are in there, and I'm seeing that it's going to be a really big job. But I'm convinced that we can do it, and so we start kind of taking little pieces. And one of the first things that we started with was trying to just get the character animations right. And so I jumped on Fiverr and I found a 3D artist, and he created a really, really ugly version of the green rat. And we were able to import that into Blender. And then it turns out like the way that the sprite moves throughout the scene, it's thousands and thousands of frames. Like you don't realize this, but it's thousands of generated frames. And so each position that the rat's in is a frame, and there are 8 positions. And then you toss on top of that the actual sort of movements, right? And so walking is, 30 frames or something like that. Dancing is 120 frames. Throwing the rock is like another 200 frames or something like that. And so you start adding these all together, and like we're kind of seeing this thing grow. Anyways, we took this 3D model. Uh, we figured out basically in Blender how to snapshot each individual frame. And then I wrote a bunch of scripts that went through and snapshotted everything, named it correctly, put it in the right folder, and I got it into the game. And so the first thing I did was get it into this beta room. So each individual level in Mouse Cafe, we call it a room. And in this beta room, it was like super basic. It had some 3D assets in there. It had a little road, and I got this mouse working. And I remember screenshotting that and sharing it with the group. And I think that's when we realized it was going to be possible. Um, I'll pause there for a second. I feel like I'm rambling. I get really excited about
No, it's incredibly
these
interesting. You're
things.
definitely not rambling at all. Um,
Um,
yeah,
um,
go ahead,
the
Mr. One.
yeah, the actual model itself, like Barney described, our backgrounds aren't in 3D modeling or animation at all. So I think Cheese Jamie might actually have a picture of the original model that we commissioned. Like Barney said, it was like the effort the person put into making it. Look, it was fantastic, but for our purposes, it was too detailed, too realistic, and ultimately it just wasn't a good fit for the game. So going back to basic and making a very simple model actually worked in our favor, and I'm glad we went with it. Oh, there he is. It's not a perfect lighting, but yeah, like if you look at that next to an actual picture of cheese, it's just not the right vibe, I guess you could say.
It's missing that smugness, right? Like if you
Yeah,
look at the original Peas meme, there is a smug attitude on that character's face. And I think it's something that we've carried through in the memes and into everything else. And so when we put this character in the game, it was like just not quite right.
it was kind
And
of
then
scary.
I don't
yeah, it's
trust
like
that mouse.
he's
No,
certainly creepy.
He looks untrustworthy. I
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. And what ended up happening is we had our very own like again, so like I'm not a 3D modeler, Mr. One's not really a 3D modeler, I don't believe.
not
But we
not
had our very own John Cheese actually go in and recreate the model, and he spit one out that was just like perfect. Like it hit every uh, sort of attribute that you could want in this mouse, and that's what ended up making it into the final game. So, there's an early beta version on my laptop somewhere that has this old mouse and this kind of weird room with some, very plain looking streets and some cities, but that's where it all started.
Oh yeah, this is some concept art. We figured it would be better if we had a hand-drawn version from John Cheese that we would then kind of model the proportions um, and size off of. This is a version we didn't actually go through with, but you can kind of start to see where the basic idea for the remodel came from. And I'm really glad we kind of went that route. It was really, really good working with people who kind of had a better eye for this kind of stuff. So yeah, very cool.
Some of the early
Yeah, this
ones even made it into memes. Like there's a meme with a really weird looking 3D mouse that is kind of crawling towards you. Maybe you've seen it if you spent time in the Telegram, but that was also another beta version. So another thing that we tried was, going to these AI tools like Meshy that can generate these things for you. And we got some interesting results, but not quite the quality that we wanted. And we knew for this portion that we needed something human made.
Yeah, I think Jamie might be able to bring up an early texture map that we had that was AI generated. Oh yeah, this thing, man. So there are tools out there you can feed an image and it'll attempt to generate a 3D model of that image.
Yeah.
And like it kind of works pretty well for what it is. The issue is this is more like a machine readable texture. If you gave this to a texture artist, they'd be like, what is this? It's impossible to edit. It's hard to make sense of. So yeah, I think very early on our ethos was, okay, AI might be a cool tool to generate maybe some ideas, some concept art, but making actual assets for a game, like for our purposes, AI just was not a good fit. So we canned it pretty early.
This is supposed to be the texture map. And
Yeah, yeah.
so usually this I assume is pretty human editable. In this case, it's not at all. Not human editable at all.
Can you guys explain what a
So
texture
yeah,
map is?
I
Yeah,
as far as I know it, it's a basically a texture that's wrapped around a 3D model, and I think there's like a term for it, like they call it UV mapping or something like that. And now we're at the sort of limits of my 3D knowledge, so I don't know. Do you know more, Mr. One? If not, that's perfectly fine too, because I think
yeah,
we
yeah. I have a good
yeah.
analogy. Maybe when you guys were in school as young children, maybe you recall cutting out a cube on a piece of paper and kind of gluing the corners together to make a cube. I'm sure you remember
Sure.
doing that.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, so you've got the six faces on the cube. Um, you can imagine making a 3D model of a cube in a computer program. If you were to draw on those six faces, your cube would have those colors and attributes. So with textures, if you're making like a human model, it'll kind of look like that kind of cube cutout in a program.
Cool.
And you guys said you don't really have any background in this at all. You guys just kind of had to learn on the fly and jury rig stuff together. And the end result is honestly so insane considering you guys had to like self teach your things, a bunch of different stuff.
Like, okay, so Blender is an insanely complex 3D program. And I think the challenge with all these 3D programs is they kind of end up doing similar things, but with very different user interfaces. And so like I've used like AutoCAD before, for example, to design parts, but it wasn't anything like Blender. And so I was trying to do really simple stuff. I was just trying to position the camera, get the lighting correct, get the character's position correct, just to take all these snapshots. And it was super difficult to figure out. And then like once I finally got it, I saved the file. I was like, okay, don't mess around with this, because if you screw it up, you're never getting back to where you were. Like it seriously took me half a day to do all this. And then on top of that, to kind of prevent myself from making mistakes, I wrote these scripts that would take basically, like I mentioned, there were 8 directions that the character can face in, and so it's like south, southwest, west, northwest, north, all the way around. And so what I did was basically just set with these scripts. I set the position, took a screenshot, renamed it, dropped it in a folder. And then from there, we generated all these sprites, and I worked them back into the game on top of the original sprites by creating these sprite sheets and then referencing them in the code. And the end result was great. I mean, we don't have a lot of animations, but we have walking, we have sitting, we have dancing, we have the rock throwing, and we have waving. And so we got 5 unique animations in there that turned out pretty good.
Yeah, I
And
love
then,
the
and then
waving animation. It's so good.
Yeah, I was gonna even just talk about the animations a little bit. And so I think we're in this interesting point in time where like all these AI tools are kind of blending with the work that you do every single day. And so I'm not a 3D artist. I'm not an animator either. But there's a tool out there called Mixamo. I believe it's called Mixamo, that lets you upload your rigged model, right? And so we had this rigged model, and they have these pre-made animations. So people actually wear these mocap suits. You know, they do waving, they sit down, whatever, and you can kind of download those, apply them to your model, and then you know chop out sections that you don't need and sort of modify it for your purposes. And that's how we created the rat. So we hand created this model, or rather, John Cheese hand created this model. We took all the sort of animations, dropped it into Blender, used the scripts to create the screenshots, generated thousands of frames, put those into sprite sheets, and then worked the sprite sheets back into the game. And this is honestly probably the first, 3 weeks of work right there. Is just figuring that out. I mean, even like throwing the rock, for example. So in the original open source implementation, it was throwing a snowball, and the snowball had no bounce to it. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be really funny if we turned the snowball into a rock? Because Club Penguin is kind of this nice game where you're hitting each other with snowballs, you're having snowball fights. But Chi is like a little bit more smug, a little bit more adult. So I thought it'd be funny if we added rocks. And so the first thing I did was replace the snowball sprite with a rock sprite that I drew. But then it just like it had no life to it because it kind of stuck. And so I rewrote the physics on the rock basically to bounce in the direction that it's been thrown. And so now when you go in the game and you like throw the rock, it arcs and then it hits the ground, and then whatever direction it was in, it bounces a couple of times. And I think stuff like that is it seems really minor, but it kind of adds a little bit of life to the game.
Yeah.
Eric? Go ahead.
Yeah, it's I think Barney's 100% spot on. People talk about soul in games. You can qualify that however you want, but I think it's that small attention to detail on things you might only just look in passing and go, "Huh, that's pretty cool." I think that really shows the level of care and dedication people put towards projects like this. So it's the small things,
Well, yeah, there's clearly attention to
Really important to
detail
get
on
right.
every level.
Yeah, 100%. Like I think we wanted to create a game that had soul, right? Like we didn't just want some garbage slop that was kind of half-assedly put together, didn't really feel good. I wanted to make it a place where you'd go and actually feel like you want to spend some time. And I think when Mr. One put together that initial trailer that we had, this was like right around the time where we had kind of put together the first background and kind of had the animations working and had some of the music in mind. And that town song just really like pulled it all together for me. And Mr. One actually went out of his way as well to create. So the engine that we're using is called Phaser, and Phaser's this web-based game engine. And Mr. One was able to like mock up some of these animations with the music, and I think that told us that we were doing the right thing. Like we were creating this game with, good amount of soul and not just some garbage slop. And I mean that was like I think the first trailer that came out, the game was like not even close at this point. We had just figured out the animations, we had just figured out the background, and kind of put this thing together. It was really exciting. And then, I mean, even like the backgrounds, you talk about soul. We tried a bunch of different things. Again, like we went straight to the AI tools. I think we got a couple of outputs that sort of showed us what we were looking for, but not quite. Oh, so here, this is actually an early version of the cafe. And so Mr. One is also an artist, apparently. I don't think he does it professionally, but he's
Among
very
many
good at
things.
drawing.
He's jack of all trades, master of all.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of us are in cheese. I think that's our unique skill set. But this is an early version of the cafe, and so originally, Mr. One has this really awesome vision for how things should look and how things should come together. And he drew up this version of the cafe where you'd actually go up on the roof. And so we took this, we passed it through AI. We told AI basically like I jumped in Sora and said, "Hey, color this in, like show me what this would look like." And it couldn't quite hit the mark. It would like take the roof, shift it over to the left an inch, and then color it with weird colors. And it wasn't really doing it. I don't know how many of these sort of in progress images that you have, but if you want to pull up some more, I can talk through them. And anyway, we tried all these different tools. So like I talked about putting things through AI. We actually went through a handful of different artists through Fiverr. And so we went through like 4 or 5 different artists. We just paid them and said, draw this concept that we have. And they were almost all bad except for one guy. And this one guy came back and drew something. It was just beautiful. Like it was really, really good. It captured all of the soul that we were hoping for. We put that in the game. We layered the music on top. We put the character in there, and the whole thing just like came to life. And I remember when we did our first beta, I dropped it in an internal chat that we have because we were doing like I posted it publicly on Telegram. I said, "Hey, we're going to do an internal beta," and I dropped it in there, and it just like it felt right. The music was right, the background was right, the character was right. Everybody came in like it felt like the place that we were trying to create, and it was super exciting. Um, I don't know what other backgrounds do you have in here? Can you pull some more up? I'd love to talk through it.
Yeah, we've got a concept art of the sewer, I believe. If
Oh
Jamie,
yeah, the
if you're
sewer.
kind to pull that up on the screen.
Pull that up, Jamie.
Yeah, Jamie, pull that up, please. Thank you. I mean, we can talk endlessly about we can yeah we can talk endlessly about level design and art direction. Um, yeah, the sewer is a bit of a fan favorite. I feel. If people aren't into
Absolutely
town
it is.
square,
I got
yeah,
trapped in there on a test version, so I'm a little scared of the sewer myself.
it's a bit scary.
I love
But
the
yeah,
sewer. Yeah, the sewer is one of my favorites for sure.
it's very cozy. I think the vibes are just spot on for the whole rat mouse kind of smug thing. Um, and I actually worked on this scene with Keiru actually. So shout out to Keiru for helping me with the pipe design and the water flow. That was really tricky for me, as my background's not in art. But yeah, like it was tricky to kind of work out. Okay, where should the player be able to walk, be able to run? It was hard, but I'm really happy with the end result. Um, and I think we actually have another concept art of this
That we
particular scene with some light design. If Jamie could pull it up, you kind of see the progress
I was
of,
gonna say
of
this is another one that we really wanted to get right.
yeah.
And I think it paid off. It is very popular. Like if you go in the game, any kind of secret discussions are generally happening down in the sewer there.
It's where shit gets real.
Okay, you'll see here. This is an early concept for coloring in the scene. I'd kind of done like the brickwork, the pipe, the kind of toxic sludge pool, but I wasn't going for hyper realism, but I was trying to make it look like, okay, you're in a dark, dank sewer. What would the light look like from a manhole? This is an early idea about how that might look. And it's kind of tricky, right? Nailing that look to make it look kind of cartoony, but also kind of lifelike. So this is me just kind of doing some faux ray tracing, trying to think about how it might reflect and look. And you kind of see what the original, how the kind of the final version took influence from this.
This
And
is
sort
a
of,
very popular level. I like.
yeah.
I can actually go in the analytics and tell you what the most popular level is. And last time I checked, it was the sewer. So a lot of people are going down in here and spending time just, you know, waiting around in that green
Wait,
toxic
you
sludge.
can
There's
see
something
like
very fitting.
you can see the most popular room in each area of the map.
Yeah, I can look at the analytics. Yeah, so I mean, there like that's the other thing. I mean, we didn't just develop this thing for the heck of it, right? Like, I want to make it better and give you guys things that you're asking for. And one of the best ways to determine that is to like more or less analyze user interactions. And so almost everything in the game is tracked, which sounds very Fed like, but also it helps me know what is being used and what's not. And the sewer is by and far one of the most popular rooms in the game.
Something also really cool that we've done is that some of you may be aware that Barney's been, he's a bit of a genius. He's been crazy enough to develop our own cheese themed image board, which you can actually access from the cafe in game. I think it's via like a community notice board or a laptop on one of the tables. Is that right?
But this is a great topic actually. So, when we were
Yeah.
creating Mouse Cafe, we sort of envisioned this experience that like really brings you into the world of cheese. And we know that we're going to have more properties in the future. We have a few now. Obviously, we have a website, cheesescoin.com. It is plural if you decide to go and look it up. But we knew that we wanted to bring all these into a place like not, I don't use the term metaverse because I don't think it's a metaverse, but it is a cheese world. And so what we ended up doing is we added a bunch of clickable items in the game. And so you can click on the safe, for example, and end up on Soul Scan to look at our preserve. We'll have to talk about the preserve in a minute for the uninitiated. You can click on an ATM and get sent to Dex Screener. You can click on a laptop and get sent to, I think it's 4Cheese. I know the bulletin board also goes to 4Cheese, but we wanted to create an environment where you come in and explore, talk to other holders, and then can see our other web properties and our other things. And I think the whole kind of driving force behind this is that um, one of my core beliefs definitely is that, not to use the term again, but belief is not enough, right? Like belief needs to be founded on something. And I think that's all these products that we're creating. And so, oh, so this is the club. I can't really see what it says on here, but yeah, it's another mock-up. And so the club was initially really static actually, and then Mr. One did a crap ton of animations to bring it to life. You know, he animated the speakers, he animated all the lights. I ended up animating the waves. That's just like a very simple four frame animation. Um, Mr. One animated the disco ball, the floor. Really props to Mr. One on all the animations in the game. I think he's done, you know, probably 99% of them. I might have done one or two.
Yeah, and at times, man, sometimes I think we're all kind of perfectionists. And man, it was so frustrating. You have an idea in your head, you try and make the animation flow in game, and it just doesn't quite look right. So you do a second revision, a third revision, a fourth revision. I think the thing that made me make those animations really stick was having feedback from everyone. Um, if I didn't have feedback from the community, um, these animations just would not have been made. So thank you everyone for giving feedback who did the beta testing in the team as well. Yeah, really, really important.
Honestly, just to like paint a little bit better of a picture there. So I animated the lights in the club. It didn't quite fit. Mr. One animated the lights in the club. It didn't quite fit again. He animated them a second time. It was almost right. He animated them a third time. We got it. It was like it was really a lot of work. Like we wanted this thing to feel right, and it just takes a couple of tries to do that. Oh, this is the cafe. So on the community board back there, you can click that, and uh, you know it takes you to Four Cheese, which is our image board that we developed. A couple of the items are missing on the tables here, but there is a newspaper and there's also a laptop. Actually, I think we moved the newspaper to the club, but yeah, these are this. I think this is actually the final that we went with. If you look at the memes on the walls, originally this didn't have anything on the walls; it was just placeholders, and we decided that we wanted to take memes from the community and not just like rip off memes from uh the original cheese with like poorly made backgrounds. We wanted to use the good stuff, and so we ended up using some of again John Cheese's work, and I think it turned out really well. Actually, on the left there, I think that might be your work, Mr. One. That looks like the background for the original website.
Yeah, I thought it'd be kind of cute to have a little tiny legacy bit of art on the wall. You can't really see the rats in it, but it kind of captures one of the original art that I kind of made in collaboration with the community. So I thought it'd be a nice little homage to have on the wall in the cafe.
I like that one. It's kind of a nice throwback to where we started. The world of cheese was kind of always envisioned, and the first time it came to life was really with the V1 website that Mr. One put together.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
this, yeah, Mouse Cafe is now basically kind of like a V2 of that. It's one step deeper into the Cheddarverse.
It's just the attention to detail is insane. All of the little things that, even if you look at the tiniest pictures in the cafe, there's cheese memes there, community made cheese memes.
Yeah,
We're showing the preserve now.
I think total development time from the idea being tabled, man, I think it was maybe a little under 5 weeks for a full release, something like that.
I think we hit it in 33 days. It was like
Wow.
somebody made the post, and then 33 days later we launched the game. It's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's people talk about DAOs and crypto projects, and it's just, I think it's testament to how skilled and how committed people are to be able to produce something of this quality in less than a month and a half. I mean, it's really quite remarkable, I think.
I mean, it's not just me developing this game, right? Like there's a ton of people involved. So you have people drawing stuff, animating stuff, creating 3D models. I'm writing the code, I'm doing things. We have people that we've borrowed from Fiverr, from inside the community. It's actually it's a massive effort. I think like in some ways my name is kind of the most visible because I launched it, right? But there's a huge network of people underneath that brought it to life. I think if you look at this one, this is a really interesting one as well. So we have this concept called the preserve, and we had this idea early on that we were going to create a community cheese storage, and at some point in the future, like it's more or less like a community wallet, right? And at some point in the future, we're going to use that to help grow the coin. We want the market cap to go up a little bit, and so that one was the preserve. It looks like now we're looking at the moon. Um, this is, I think, symbolic in many ways, right? Like, of course, we want to go to the moon. The moon is made of cheese. It's kind of a fun adventure to go on. And so when you leave the town and go through this kind of like interstitial space of the rocket pad, you end up on the moon there. Um, yeah, I think the
The moon is kind of
I can't really tell which one is. I think we're
well,
back on the preserve, but oh yeah, I'll finish what I was saying about the preserve. So we want to grow this coin in an organic way. And at some point in the future, having funds available to do that is going to be very important. The preserve is kind of a digital representation of our vault. And so you can't see the vault in that image. But in the actual game, there's this golden vault. You click on it, it takes you right to the preserve. You can see how much cheese is in the wallet. So that's the preserve. And then I guess it looks like we're back on the moon again. Sorry, I can't tell. I think there's a little bit of a delay between what we show and what comes on, but we're kind of talking about both. So, um, yeah, the moon, I think, is another symbolic place. I mean, if you click on that little sort of iPad kiosk thing right in the center there, there's a nice little message, and it's just a symbolic place to go and hang out. Eventually, it'll become more interactive. The game is not just these worlds that you walk around in. There's actually a wallet connector, which is hidden right now because it doesn't really do anything yet, but it is there. You can connect your wallet, and eventually we'd like to bring in our NFTs. We do have another NFT experience at cheesy.club, but we'd like to bring in um, customizations. You can wear different clothes, be a different character, and you do all this through your wallet basically. So in the original Club Penguin, they had coins and an inventory. I never played it. I don't know if they had an actual inventory or not, but in our game, you'll have your wallet and these real world sort of objects that you can bring into the game.
Man,
the,
there's a
the
lot of
moon
cool
was
stuff you can do with that.
there is. And the moon was a really special place. We kind of brainstormed thinking like, okay, moon's made of cheese. This kind of needs to be the final end game for rats to go to. So having this kind of mecha, kind of Kaaba looking thing in the middle as a representation of, a thank you to everyone and kind of just a kind of a way to celebrate cheese in general. Super happy with how it turned out.
I think the cheese level especially, or sorry, the moon level especially is one of my favorites. The I think the music is like another piece that we haven't touched on yet. And
Yeah.
I guess the only thing I can say about the music is it was hand selected, right? So we used Udio to make it. And I kind of mentioned earlier how AI and sort of human driven development has meshed, right? And one of the things that we could not find a skill set for was music. And so I went to Udio and I started typing in like all kinds of prompts, and I finally landed on this one. It was like, you're creating iconic music for this video game that's based around these mice that live in this cheese world and whatever. I had this whole prompt. Anyways, I went through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of songs, like for days. I just keep looking and looking and looking. And then when I finally found the song, I would tag it and pull it out, and then we dropped it in the game. And we ended up with 7 really great tracks. And that's what this album art is here. So this is maybe Mr. One can talk about the music. Actually, this is his creation. Is this original soundtrack?
Yeah, I thought it'd be really, really great to actually have a place where people can enjoy the music in one location or one product rather. So I made this kind of concept art of a house cafe soundtrack. I actually made this into a 3D model with the CD and everything. You can catch a video on our X page, but yeah, the feedback was really good in the music. I think it really provides that kind of final little bit of polish on the levels, and being able to listen to it outside of the game is really cool. Most big projects release soundtracks for kind of tailor-made music, so it kind of just felt right to release it for Cheese. So
Each track gives each place on the map a lot of soul. And for the rats out there that do enjoy the soundtrack, pay attention. It will be coming out shortly on streaming platforms everywhere. Sooner than later.
One of the pieces of feedback that we got after the game launched, I had like at least 3 or 4 different people either post in the game or reach out to me directly and ask where they can listen to the music. And that will be an opportunity for you pretty shortly here. So we're gonna, like Jeff said, we're gonna get it onto some streaming platforms. And then yeah, I mean that can potentially be a source of revenue for the reserve. So if you like the music, you go and listen to it, you support your coin.
and eventually, maybe it's just very cheesy.
What streaming platforms are you guys thinking?
All of them. Every single one.
Dang, that's exciting.
Pretty exciting. Yeah. There's basically a distribution. There's a way to get it distributed, and it costs a little bit up front, but we're able to push it to most of the popular platforms. So it should be on Spotify, Apple Music, that kind of thing.
That's awesome.
Personally, I love the Launchpad song. The Launchpad song is so good. It's so good.
Yeah, it really has a lot of character, right?
I think that's track number 6, Launch into Memory.
Yeah, Launch into Memory. Yes. Okay, well, just to change gears a little bit, I mean, you talked about having a wallet implementation. What other kinds of things did you think you'd want to add to Mouse Cafe updates in the future?
There are kind of a few. I think the first one that we want to do, and we've had a lot of feedback around this, is I talked about character customization. And so people want to come in and LARP as, like, one of the things that's popular now is people come in and LARP as like a cafe barista, for example. And I think it'd be nice to give people the tools to do that a little bit better. And so that means costumes, right? Like you're going to the moon, you probably want a spacesuit. You want to LARP as a barista, you might want to wear an apron. Maybe there's different hats. Maybe there's even different characters that you can play.
Hazmat suit.
We've even talked about reaching out. Yeah, hazmat suit, that kind of thing. Exactly. And I mean, we've even talked about reaching out to other communities and maybe having them pay some sort of fee and letting them bring their characters into the game. This is just something we've talked about. It's not anything we've looked at too seriously, but I think the first and probably biggest thing we can do is all this customization. I think on top of that, we have ideas for other places that you can explore. And none of these are finalized, but I'll kind of give you an idea of what we're thinking. Like, we thought it might be fun to do kind of like a prison, right? And well, how do you go to prison? You start at the courthouse. And we like the idea of doing skyscrapers and just building these places that you might like to go and spend time. And there's not really like there aren't coins or anything, right? And so your experience is really based around showing up, spending time with your friends, maybe LARPing as a character, wearing a costume. And maybe you have to buy those costumes from a store that, we have all these NFTs launched into, and you buy them for a really low price. But we think stuff like that is going to be really exciting, and that aligns with a lot of the feedback that we've seen and some of the things that people are asking for. I think outside of that, I mean, it's not our planning horizon is not super far right now. I think we have just launched this a couple weeks ago. We're still gathering feedback. We have some ideas for short-term next steps. But over the long term, it's really just about creating this community place. And this is what I was talking about a little bit ago as well, where Mouse Cafe is the Cheddarverse. Like it is the manifestation of all of your belief. It kind of creates this reality where you can go spend time in with fellow holders, talk about stuff, look at our other properties, spend time in Four Cheese, do whatever. So I think we want to bring that to life. Like we want to give you guys things to believe in. We don't just want you to have raw belief for this coin. We want competence to back it up, and we want things to back it up and products to back it up. It's possible that in the future, we start doing these drops, and so we've talked about this a little bit more in the Telegram. But we have this idea for launching products like on like a monthly basis or like on a rolling basis, and that could happen in Mouse Cafe. You might go to an auction house and actually stand in line for something, or like participate in a silent auction or something like that. So I think the potential is pretty immense, but we're going to keep it simple to start and do some of these kind of wallet integrations.
Yeah, really. It might sound a bit lofty, but the limit is your imagination for Mouse Cafe. We would absolutely love to implement and design stuff that people actually want to use and see. And I think that feedback is a very essential part of what we do.
My mind is definitely
I want to
racing.
reiterate too.
Oh, go ahead, Barney.
Oh no, that's perfect. I want to hear all your ideas. Like I just want to reiterate, we're building this place for you, right? Like it's not just Barney's playground. Like this is your house. This is our house, and I want to build something for all of us, with the community, with the participation of the community, with your ideas, and I want it to be a place where you feel like spending time. And the best way we can do that is with your feedback. So, if you have ideas, if your mind is racing like Saul's, drop stuff in the Telegram. Let us know what you want to see. And just know that I'm always watching. I have access to the analytics, so even if you don't say it, I can maybe figure out
He's
some
always
things and read
watching.
between the lines.
Well, I was kind of curious where do those analytics end up? For example, I imagine you have all of the messages logged, for example. You would surely probably log, for
I'm not logging the
example.
messages.
Oh, you're not. So can
Yeah,
you?
let me alleviate some concerns. Privacy is very important. All of your analytics are anonymized through Google Analytics, and events are sent, but I'm not logging any messages. Full transparency.
Gotcha. Because that's what I was thinking, Four Cheese could kind of be this place where people just come on and have a sort of somewhat private conversation. I wouldn't mind it ending up somewhere that you have that information, but, I'm sure you would be analyzing that information in a much less suspect way than Telegram, for example, or some of these other messaging platforms.
I'm generally pretty privacy focused, and I think one of the core tenets with Mouse Cafe was, for me at least, was anonymity, right? Like I don't like it when I have to log into something, and I don't like identifying myself. And I think the two main products that we have right now, they don't require either of those things. And so if you go to 4Gs, you can post anonymously. You don't have to log in. There is a captcha system, but it's not annoying like 4chan. And then the same thing with Mouse Cafe. Like you can just show up, type in a name, and play. And ultimately the way that you sort of log in will really be through your wallet, which can be as anonymous as you want. Like if you want to make a new wallet, that's great. If you want to use one that's already sort of out there and known, you can use that one too. But yeah, none of the messages are being logged. So just don't do anything weird in Mouse Cafe, please.
Well, speaking of weird people in Mouse Cafe, maybe we can talk about some of the personalities that have already developed on Mouse Cafe.
There has been some absolutely strange stuff going on. Somebody keeps posting a picture of someone named, I think it just says no name, hiding behind the sewer pipe down in the sewer.
Oh, his name's No One. I actually went to the
No one,
sewer.
that's what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I went to the sewer yesterday, and man, I got a jump scare, man. There was no one down there except this guy called No One, and he was just crouching behind the pipe, and you see this transparent water flowing over his face, and man, kind of creeped me out.
What does he do?
Nothing. He just stands there menacingly. You try and talk to him, he doesn't reply. You throw rocks at him, nothing, man.
He's just a sentinel of some sort.
Yeah,
I
maybe
actually
he's-
saw some poo whales in there.
Personally, I just like to stand at the entrance and wave when I'm AFK. And maybe that's his place where he goes AFK. I don't know. But there've been reports of some really like strange characters. There was another, I think Carrie was telling us about a Peruvian witch that was trying to like cast a spell or something and was running around and generally being creepy. I think like that's part of the fun of these anonymous games is they attract these weird personalities, and it's always kind of an experience to jump into Mouse Cafe and just see something weird going on, like see No Name or a Peruvian witch or whatever it may be.
Could you guys create something like some AI NPCs, non-player characters that are just these kind of weirdos?
That would be so cool.
Actually, maybe
It's possible. Yeah, I mean, we could actually, if you pull up there's an image with a bunch of rats in it, and so this is this is us doing stress testing. And so one of the challenges with the open source version of this kind of game that we built on top of was that the networking code crapped out after like 300 people got in the server, and I wanted to fix that. And so originally, the basically what would happen is like your character would send a message to the server would then broadcast it down to all the other mice that are playing, and it wasn't super efficient. So I implemented this, um, basically like how other online games work. It uses ticks now, and so every 100 milliseconds, all the player events that are sent to the server are batched together and then broadcast out to everyone at the same time in one giant blob. And this kind of improved the gameplay quite a bit. And so now we can get like, you know, 300 people in one server, and then on the server side, it runs on two different cores. We can get up to 600 people total with what we have now, and I felt that was sufficient. But this is, yeah, this image is basically robots, and they're not moving, but you can imagine they're all running around, sending commands, you know, walking from point A to point B, waving, they're dancing, and they're trying to overload the server. And I was trying to do this to figure out what capacity we would need. But to answer your question, yeah, I think I probably could, you know, rig something up where like an AI shows up and maybe plays a character, maybe plays a shopkeep, something like that. But we haven't done it yet.
So, admittedly, as somebody who played Club Penguin a lot in middle school, it was something that took over my school like crack hit streets in the 80s. You know what I mean? Um, it was two things. It was two things. The little mini games that were on there were so fun to play, and you can earn a little, in-game currency to spend on, whatever, new clothes, new hats, whatever. And also the igloo experience, having your own place that you could go back to that was like your home, quote unquote, that you could decorate with said in-game currency. You could buy furniture, you could buy pets, you could do all kinds of shit. Those were the two things that I think people loved the most.
I really love this feedback. I've heard this from a couple other people too. I think mini games have been asked for a ton. Um, I think they're possible. I've never really like implemented mini games before, but I think we have some really neat ideas. And we'll definitely get mini games in the future. And then even the igloo concept is brought up a couple of times. And I think I was chatting with somebody about making basically like a mouse burrow where kind of the same thing happens. So, you can imagine you can configure your character. Well, if we implement an inventory, you can obviously get some items in there as well. And that could be a lot of fun to like have a little burrow that you come back to, and it's dedicated with like NFTs on the wall, furniture, that sort of thing.
I
But I
want
think
to
those are probably more medium term goals. They're like a little bit more complex than bringing character configuration and stuff like that.
I want to be able to create like build out my mouse cave in aged cheese. Age different kinds of cheese in different ways and different methods. And then maybe be able to use that cheese.
Fun too. You turn it into like you can make special glowing cheese. Or did you guys ever play Final Fantasy VII? I might be old. I'm pretty old. Anyways, in Final Fantasy VII, you could breed chocobos. So chocobo is like it's almost like a giant chicken that you can ride on. And they had this mini game where like you could take a black chocobo and a yellow chocobo, and if you bred it just the right way, it would create a gold chocobo, and then you could go race it in this racetrack. And I think stuff like that is always fun, where uh, you're kind of like creating something. You're doing like a
Yeah.
little science experiment
And
almost.
you have
It's
to
like, oh, I
come
mix
back
this
to it over
milk.
time. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, yeah. It creates some stickiness. It's like, I'm gonna mix this milk with like this special salt that I've got and create a glowing cheese. And then I'm gonna throw it at a character in the game, and like, I don't know, something happens.
Since since Heil or Smugrat is saying his idea as his little avatar sweats, I would love there to be a jail cell, like you guys were saying. You can go to jail, and within there, you can gamble your cheese playing spades.
It's called the
Or-
mouse trap.
Hang on, let
The
me write this one
mousetrap,
down
that's
because
so
maybe that's the
good.
first game that we make. I love this. I'm adding it to my notes right now.
I think that would be a good time.
I might even just
That'd be a
go
lot
there
of fun.
voluntarily. Oh no, I got caught in the mouse trap. I guess I
I
have
would
to
commit a
hang out
crime in
and
that cafe just so I could hang out and play spades.
just to expose yourself in the cafe.
There's unlimited opportunity here. I'm really glad that we're imagining these experiences together, and I think there's a future here in the very sort of short to medium term where we do have a prison, and we probably do play prison dice or whatever it is.
Yeah, once you have the wallet connected, there really are a lot of interesting opportunities that could, come into play. It kind of becomes this little place of commerce or betting or something, also, which is an interesting extension of the Telegram, which I view as sort of the main source of interaction and communication.
Proof of concept on this also, like if you check out cheesy.club, it's really simple, but we use your NFT as a way to give you access to this digital experience, and it's another game. It's really simple. It was built in just a couple of days. But you click a button, you connect your wallet, and you're given access to the Cheese Club. And they're kind of like these little missions that you can go on. You can find the glowing cheese, and you can eat it in the VIP, and kind of go on this acid trip, and that's one of the endings. You can meet Mousette at the bar, and go and do different things, and actually bring her home, and that's another sort of ending for you. So there's like these fun things that you can do, um, kind of once the wallet is connected, and I'm excited to explore that in Mouse Cafe. Oh, and here's a
Yeah.
little cheese igloo here. Like this is exactly the yeah.
I just love that it's like it's a culmination of really everything that you have built for the most part so far. But you log into Mouse Cafe and you can take a look at everything that Cheese has built and accomplished in the past 7 months. It's all there. So everything we continue to build, it just feels like it'll all be interwoven with each other, and it'll just be so beautiful.
We have a ton of stuff. I mean, you can get to Cheesy Club from inside Mouse Cafe. And I mean, the fact that we're only 7 months old and we're already pumping this kind of stuff out, I think you can imagine where we'll be in another 7 months once we've kind of built on these foundations. It'll be a much more refined experience with much more to do.
I'm excited for the next 2 weeks.
Always
It's always
excited
just
for
2
the
more
next 2
weeks.
14 short days.
There- 14 short days. There's two rules. First is nothing ever happens, and the second is just 2 more weeks.
That's right.
Everything
If
happens in
if
2
something were to happen, exactly, it's going to happen in a week and a half from now. A week, the week after next.
a little more than
Exactly
a week.
one fortnight from now.
I actually haven't checked out Cheesy Club, so I'm excited to look into that. This is actually
Dude,
the
you
first
should.
I've heard of it.
Go down into the sewer, go to the other side, and see what lurks beyond the alley.
I want to be
An
playing
NFT to
Mouse
access
Cafe
it.
right now, but I need to bring it up on my other computer on mute so I'm not. Although the music would be comfy in the background of the stream.
Yeah, speaking of the music, I'll kind of spoil it now. Why not? The soundtrack for Mouse Cafe should be available everywhere, all streaming platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Apple Music, Spotify, Tidal, wherever you go listen to music on July 22nd.
Very, very cool.
Heck yeah, congratulations.
Launch that.
That's a big milestone.
Yeah, so if you want to make your TikTok dances, I know Saul and Smugrat, I'm sure you guys are really well versed on TikTok dances. You can go ahead, load up the Mouse Cafe OST and get to dancing.
Nice.
We've got someone
I
in
haven't
the audience
practiced
asking,
my dances.
can we raise cows to make cheese?
I think it's possible. Like we can build anything. I think the question is that what we want to focus on next? Maybe we take some of these to a vote actually, and we bring it into the Telegram. And like I know that we're going to focus on player customization first, but maybe we take a vote on what we do next. And, yeah, I see someone else has mentioned Tamagotchis. I don't know if we're ready to unwrap that one yet.
It might have to be for another time, I think.
But we'll just say there are other things in the works,
You just have to wait 2 more
including
weeks.
physical hardware products. You'll just have to wait 2 more weeks. Yeah, I think we have an incredible skill set inside of Cheese. There are a lot of like actual working professionals that do some pretty amazing stuff day to day, and they're very motivated to build products for Cheese on behalf of the Cheese community to kind of create that foundation for relief, like I was talking about earlier. I think like if you look at some of the other coins that are out there, there's not anything to believe in other than we're going to 800 trillion market cap, and there's no reason why. I think one of our goals with Cheese is to give a reason why, and it's a foundation of competence in products and things. And I suspect that we'll probably get it wrong a few times, we'll probably create a couple of products that don't really make it. But I think eventually, if we keep making things, we keep building, we're going to find that thing. We're going to find the right product market fit, and it'll take off. And like, regardless of what the coin actually does, if we can create the right product and bring in a bunch of end users, I think eventually that carries over into cheese coin itself. And the more that we kind of bake, uh, cheese coin and our NFTs and other things into these products, the better off the coin will do over the long term.
Yeah,
And
most definitely. I think it's just a function of, there's a lot of coins that have belief. We have belief, but I think what we're doing is kind of the tangible manifestation of it, and it's something that not many other people are doing. So the sky's the limit. But with that said, just real quick before I wrap up, I just want to say on behalf of all of the cheese holders out there, I'm sure I'm about to say what they're all thinking. Thank you, Barney, for everything that you've done in the past 6 months with Mouse Cafe, 4Cheese, the NFC experience, Cheesy Club, everything. I think we all appreciate all of the work you put in. I just had to say that before we wrapped up here today.
Yeah, I have to second that. This
It
stuff
is
is really incredible.
Yeah, you're goated.
Thank you. I do it for the community. It's my absolute pleasure. I do it for you guys. I want to make products that you use and enjoy. And I think, we're not done yet. We're just getting started. So hang on.
You heard it here,
Hold on
folks.
to you, Chelsea.
Just hang on. There's more coming. With that said, I think we're a little short on time, unfortunately, today, but that's okay. Listen, there's gonna be many, many more Rat Hole episodes. So with that said, wherever you may be, have a good day, have a good night. As always, we're cheesed to have you. See you next time.